Hey guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives. Back for another ranking video. This time we're going to take a look at all 15 international releases, studio albums from AC/DC. This one's a request to get my thoughts on AC/DC and where I would rank their studio albums. Thanks for the request. One viewer in particular, Ace Productions. Again, thank you for the request. Let's take a look at these. But first, when did I get into AC/DC? It would be around 1981. I was 13 years old, just turning 13. For those about to rock, I'm sure was out already. Kind of discovered them through the song Hell's Bells and never looked back. Kind of snapped up all the releases I could, for those about to rock backwards. Flick of the Switch was my first ever brand new release on release day in 1983. So I'd say my heyday for AC/DC, probably 81 to around 1990, maybe up to the Ballbreaker album in 95. And I still listen to them to this day, just not as much. Got a lot of AC/DC listening in when I was younger. But anyways, great band. I would say AC/DC and Kiss were kind of my, hard rock, metal. We called everything metal back then, but they were my kind of my entry to, harder music, hard rock, like I said. But anyways, well, let's take a look at all 15 releases. We'll go from 15 all the way to number 1. Just to keep in mind, some of these are, some of the ones I'll show you first just are not my favorites. There's great tracks on there, but some of them, the whole album is not, not as good as some of the earlier stuff or what I have in the top part of my ranking. And, each of us got into AC/DC in a different year, a different time, different circumstances. So some of the albums will mean more to you than others. And that doesn't necessarily mean, that they're the best albums, but anyways, they will mean more to you. So let's start off. I do have 3 ticket stubs here that are in with some of these CDs, and that's when I actually saw them on these tours. But we're going to start off with number 15, and this is their latest album from 2014 called Rock or Bust. Just not their best work, but there's good tracks on here. Some of my favorite tracks are Rock or Bust, Play Ball, Dogs of War, good track. And my favorite track on here actually is called Sweet Candy. Very, very catchy riff. But that is from 2014, coming in at number 15. Number 14, I did get to see them on this tour. This is Black Ice, produced by Brendan O'Brien. You'll know that name in the hard rock or metal world. Anyways, that's pretty hard to see. The one complaint I have about this album, it's too long, 15 tracks. Get it down to about 11. And, it's just a little too long for an AC/DC album. There's really good tracks in here, and then there's kind of filler stuff. But Rock and Roll Train's awesome. War Machine, I like that song. One of my favorite songs is called Stormy Mayday. The last track, Black Ice. So yeah, I got to see them on a stadium tour. Actually, it was the year later, August 24th, 2009, here in Saskatchewan. Outdoor show, stadium tour, $116 for a stadium seat, and it was not that good of a seat. I would take an arena show over a stadium show any day of the week. I don't know about you, that's up to you, but yeah, it's quite pricey for what you get to see. You find yourself actually staring at the TVs more than you are the stage because you can't see. Anyways, but it was still a great show, sounded awesome, and the weather fortunately was really good that day. So anyways, coming in at number 13 is 2000 Stiff Upper Lip. Again, one of those AC/DC albums that's got some really strong tracks that I enjoy, and then some that I could, it's kind of filler, but nevertheless, a decent album. produced by George Young. Stiff Upper Lip, great tune. A lot of people like the song Safe in New York City. I'm not a big fan of it. It's okay. A couple of my favorite other tracks are Satellite Blues and another song called Damned. So that is number 13. Number 12, I got to see them this year. Actually, on this tour, it wasn't the same year as this release. This is 1995's Ball Breaker. And this one sees the return of Phil Rudd on drums, and this one's produced by Rick Rubin. Overall, I'm not a huge Rick Rubin production fan. I am for some of his stuff, like I do like some of the Chili Pepper stuff he's done, and of course, the Slayer albums we all know are legendary from Rick Rubin. Here's the back. Okay, key tracks for this one: Hard as a Rock, The Fuhrer. I'd say, and the one thing I did want to say is this one versus Stiff Upper Lip, very close to me, but I'd say this one is a little, if you really listen close, it's a lot darker. It's sure enough, it's rock and roll, that's for sure, but it's not as upbeat as Stiff Upper Lip. Like The Fuhrer, Burnin' Alive, great song. And this one wraps up with a really killer track called Ball Breaker. Got to see them for $36.50 in 1996. So that was the same tour. Special guests. You know what? I don't remember who opened for them. Almost should write that down or look it up or something. So that was number 12. Coming in at number 11 is the second album with Simon Wright on drums. This one is from 1988. Also a tour I got to see. And the first time I got to see AC/DC is on the Blow Up Your Video tour. And, you know, not a bad album. There's some really good tracks on here. Heat Seeker I really enjoy. That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll. Some of the deeper tracks that I really do like is Kissin' Dynamite's really good, and the song Two's Up, track number 9. So that is number 11. And where can you go for a concert where can you see AC/DC for $20 nowadays? You're not going to happen. It was Rush seating. Again, I don't know who opened for them at that time, but got to see them June 9th, 1988. You know, I was laughing the other day, you know, you save all these ticket stubs, and, you know, one day they did come in handy, so I can show you guys. Pretty cool that, you know, you get to see some of these bands, and, yeah, like I said, $20, give me a break. Next up, coming in at number 10, an album I just don't mind at all. It gets crapped on a bit, but that's Fly on the Wall. I think at the time of the recording of this, though, Brian was a little under the weather. Some of the actual lyrics are really kind of hard to decipher. Once you've read along with the lyrics, you'll be fine. So this is the first album with Simon Wright. He actually took over on the Flick of the Switch tour after Phil Rudd was dismissed. Anyways, good tunes. Shake Your Foundation, Danger, Sink the Pink. Some of the deep tracks I really enjoy are Back in Business and the last track, Send for the Man. Very, you know, stripped down, you know, kind of followed the suit of Flick of the Switch, but not as good in my opinion. Just a more basic AC/DC. But there is number 10, Fly on the Wall. Number 9 is the actually a major hit album for AC/DC in 1990. That is The Razor's Edge, and it's kind of after 1990 that I kind of I didn't lose track of AC/DC, but they just weren't as high on my radar anymore. But this album was produced by Bruce Fairbairn, and you know him from Bon Jovi, Aerosmith. You know, so this is a really polished album, and you know the big track on here, Thunderstruck. Not that I dislike that song, but if I never heard it again, I'd be fine. It's burnt right in my brain. But there's other great tracks on here. I mean, Money Talks was a good single, but Fire Your Guns, Mistress for Christmas, Actually, the song The Razor's Edge, kind of a dark song. Are You Ready? Got You by the Balls. Yeah, it's 12 tracks. Great album from 1990 from AC/DC. Coming in at number 9. Number 8 is the follow-up to the major, massive hit called Back in Black, and that is For Those About to Rock. We Salute You. That song is still in their set list, hopefully still today. I heard there's going to be an Australian tour and a new album, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for a new AC/DC album here in 2020. And like I said before, some of the newer stuff, it's not as good to me, but it's AC/DC, and it's still nice to see bands making new music, and I will support and buy their albums for sure. So yeah, so coming in at number 8, some great songs. This one is actually the 3rd album in a row produced by Robert John Mutt Lange. Put the Finger on You, awesome song. Evil Walks, COD, Spellbound, Night of the Long Knives, good album, absolutely. A decent, hard to follow up For Those About to Rock, but Back in Black, but they did a good job with this one. Coming in at number 7, and this is the first international release. This is High Voltage. And back in the day when like I said, 81, started backtracking and picking up stuff like this, you just, A Long Way to the Top, you hear those bagpipes, and that was pretty cool. The Jack, Livewire, TNT, this overall just a fantastic album. High Voltage, She's Got Balls, what an international start for AC/DC. Great album, coming in at number 7. Number 6, another one of my, and now you get into the Bon Scott. And the other thing I was thinking about that I would mention is, out of these 15 albums, there's 10 with Brian Johnson on it, and only 5 with Bon Scott. But those 5, to me, it feels like way more. I don't know why it feels that way, but and it's the quality of the work too. Great stuff. But anyways, coming in at number 6 is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Just another great rock and roll record by AC/DC. Perfect length for an AC/DC album. 9 songs, 10 songs. Dirty Deeds, awesome. Love at First Feel. Big Balls, you all know that one. One of my personal favorites. Problem Child, awesome. Ride On, great album, coming in at number 6. And these just keep getting better and better. Coming in at number 5 is Let There Be Rock. Just another fantastic AC/DC album. Bon Scott on vocals. There's the back. Go Down, Dog Eat Dog. Love that song, Let There Be Rock. Overdose, Whole Lotta Rosie. There's another classic that's in the set list to this day. Here we go. That is number 5. Coming in at number 4, this one might be a little bit of a surprise that it's only number 4, but I said there's a hair. It really doesn't matter. Let's say the next 4 are tied for first place. But the one after this, just, I guess it means more to me, put it that way. But anyways, number 4 is Back in Black. And a lot of people will put this high in their ranking just for the sheer reason that it sold a bazillion copies, and it's a fantastic album. There's no doubt about it. What band loses their singer in early 1980? Bon Scott passes away, and later on in 1980, this album comes out. One of the most, what we'll call the most successful vocal changes in the history, I would say. I don't know who else had. There's lots of bands that change vocalists, but AC/DC's got to be at the top of having 2 fantastic vocalists on their 15 albums here. Of course, Hell's Bells, What Do You Do for Money? Let Me Put My Love Into You, Back in Black. Love that song. You Shook Me All Night Long. There's another track. If I didn't ever hear it again, not that I hate it, but it is just burnt right in the brain. Just a solid album. And yeah, and you know, they were on the verge of maybe possibly calling it quits. And no, they plugged away, got a new singer by the name of Brian Johnson, and the rest is history. Coming in at number 3, and this one might be a little bit of a surprise, but I know a lot of people that absolutely love this album. And why it's number 3 for me is lots of reasons. It's a fantastic album, and it's maybe it's a little underappreciated, but it's my first brand new AC/DC release in 1983. That's Flick of the Switch. This is a stripped down cover too. It's basic, looks like a pencil drawing. A stripped down version of AC/DC, self-produced, but I love this album, and I pretty much love every track. Rising Power, This House Is on Fire, Guns for Hire, just everything about this album. I love it. I often do pull this album out for a listen. Number 3, Flick of the Switch. Number 2, and you'll know number 1 after that, but number 2 is the legendary album Powerage. Just fantastic album. Rock and Roll Damnation, Down Payment Blues. There's not a weak track on here. 9 solid tracks. And this one is from 1978. And again, when I first got into AC/DC in 81, you know, I started buying up, and all on cassette actually, started buying up all the old AC/DC, and this one's always been one of my favorite. Sin City, like I said, Up to My Neck in You. So number 2. The number 1, this has been my favorite AC/DC album basically my whole life. Nothing's ever really topped it. A lot of just fond memories of this, listening to it as a kid and up at the lake, had my little Walkman and my cassette in there, riding my BMX bike. But number 1 for me is Highway to Hell. Just love this album. Just one of those albums that this is a 10 out of 10. Every track, right from the opening of Highway to Hell right through to number 10, Night Prowler. Kind of that slow, eerie song, but everything in between. Girls Got Rhythm, Shot Down in Flame, Walk All Over You, Touch Too Much. There it is, number 1. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that ranking. Again, in the comments below, let us know your top 2, 3, or put your whole ranking in there. Would love to see it. And thanks for the request. And until next time, stay heavy.